gosh.
Dr. Karla, are you judging someone for pursuing thin privilege as someone with thin privilege? That's actually a really good question. And so I did respond to her and I said, and said no, and showed a picture of myself not having at a time when I didn't have thin privilege. And then they were like, well, you are, and I said, no, not at all. I've been clinically obese, just getting everyone to think about their why, like why you're doing it, because it's not gonna work for you. It's just going to cause harm to yourself and perpetuate harm in others if we're continuing to just pursue privilege.
Hello, everyone. I am so thrilled to bring to you a great friend, Dr. Karla Lester, an activist. She's canceling diet culture. She's doing so many tremendous things. Dr. Karla, and I love it. And I love that you're on TikTok. And every time I hear the word TikTok, I think of you. So I'm like, oh gosh.
My kids don't like it, but I don't care. I mean, I do content that is like about, weight stigma and bias in healthcare and medical gaslighting due to weight stigma and bias. And so people share their experiences. So I'd written an article on doctors on social media about how it's TikTok's a great like QI project. It's a great patient experience survey because you just learn so much and there's a shared collective. So I really learn so much on that app, to be honest. And so almost everybody is, and I'm so like unfazed by, people, I did the one on the pursuit of thin privilege or pursuit of thinness, or what you call health is actually a pursuit of thin privilege.
Oh my gosh.
Dr. Karla, are you judging someone for pursuing thin privilege as someone with thin privilege? That's actually a really good question. And so I did respond to her and I said, and said no, and showed a picture of myself not having at a time when I didn't have thin privilege. And then they were like, well, you are, and I said, no, not at all. I've been clinically obese, just getting everyone to think about their why, like why you're doing it, because it's not gonna work for you. It's just going to cause harm to yourself and perpetuate harm in others if we're continuing to just pursue privilege. And so somebody said, I have been trained since a very young age, everyone needs to be thin or pursuing thinness. I mean, you get some really...
Can we pause on this one?
Yeah.
For people that don't know, Dr. Lester and I met because of my Kevin MD article regarding my history of anorexia and BMI. And we both have a very shared mission of kind of challenging diet culture and anti-diet culture because of its oppressive nature and asking the why. Mm-hmm. And so when we think about smaller, I think it equates to oppressive nature, quiet your voice, like shut up.
Silencing.
Yes, mm-hmm. Shut up and go sit in the corner kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's where I noticed the eating disorder showed up. So when you said thin privilege, it actually caused me to pause and think because my body's a lot different than it was a year ago when I was very malnourished. And it's uncomfortable. And I had to sit with that discomfort and ask myself why. So when you wrote that to me, and I was like, that is what I fear. I don't fear the body changes. I feared I was uncomfortable because I know that my natural body weight is on the higher end of the damn BMI scale. Darn, I should probably say, sorry.
No, there's other choice words that would fit BMI better.
Yeah, but then I was like, wow, like this is the first time I'm 33 years old. This is the first time I'm allowing my body to do what it wants to do and go back to a normal. It's whatever it wants. So normal for whatever it wants. I don't know. It's going to tell me. And I have to observe that because I'm not a naturally small person. Thankfully, my personality fits the fact that I'm not a naturally small person. Yeah. That like, I also don't like to be quiet because we suffer in silence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it resonated with me when you wrote that pursuit of thin privilege and what it has meant in my life to feel like that wasn't my natural state of being. And like I have pictures in my head right now of like when I was younger, all of my friends were pretty naturally smaller and I always craved that. even though I enjoyed being very muscular and strong and things like that. And now I ask myself, like, why? Why? And then it all goes down to the societal beliefs and the
Exactly.
society valuing.
Mhm.
But I will say this to the audience here, because the lessons I've learned was when I was super small from being malnourished, like that was the worst time. I was treated so poorly. I was walked all over. I had no voice. I couldn't stand up for myself. And I was exhausted because I wasn't nourishing myself. But I was
Mhm.
like, wow, like that is how I related the diet culture desire for you to be smaller with the oppressive nature, and you're getting used, unless you're naturally small. Of course, if people are in naturally smaller bodies, we don't want to make you feel like you're small and you don't have a voice. Just saying, like, if you are suppressing your whatever your body wants to be in order to fit societal norms, that's not true to who you are.
Mhm.
Definitely see why it ignited. I think the way that you stated it really resonated with me.
Well, and I did a Be Body Positive training, the Body Positive Institute, which is amazing. And so I'm an actual like trained facilitator. And Elizabeth Scott is the name of the leader there. She's incredible. And there are 5 components to being body positive. And it's the first one is reclaiming health, reclaiming your definition of health. And weight is really a neutral thing. It shouldn't be even in your definition of health. And I did this with my IME Community team members I was coaching. So it was really fun. I mean, they talked about like mental, emotional health and physical health as far as if you want to do sports, and but the mental, emotional health being like the priority, and feeling like, oh, okay with like making small changes and goals. And so that was the first time that I was introduced in that training to this notion, this philosophy of the reality is that the pursuit of thinness is the pursuit of thin privilege. And my mind was absolutely blown, like yours was. And I was like, oh, that's been like a lot of my life too. And then we went deeper, and I'm not going to do that on like TikTok or YouTube in my videos, but that it's that privilege is based on moving toward whiteness and white supremacy. And it's when we look at historically where that kind of thin privilege and that pursuit of it comes from, it's it's, you can't separate it out from that. And so for me, I was like, yuck, horrible, like that's harmful to others who will never be able to attain what our society has created, and so harmful to the person pursuing it, because you have a rival fallacy, because you're never there, because it's like the promise of you're going to be happy or you're going to be relieved from suffering. And it's like that's just a complete lie. I mean, we are a part of a common humanity, and we are going to suffer, and we are going to make mistakes, and we are going to fail. And it's like that pursuit is just, and then it goes off the rails, right? Which you're talking about, and I've experienced this in my life too, is like just that kind of control. It's something you can control. And then even once you get it, or you get your body changing, it's never good enough. Like because you don't feel that sense of relief, it gets worse. And so you get this kind of grueling grind. So it's like harmful for yourself, because you're putting 100% of all your self-worth on the external and looking for all your validation and everything outside of you, when it's an inside game. Self-worth is an inside game. And then are we perpetuating harm and contributing to the harm of others, and demarginalizing? Anytime we judge someone's body, we're judging our own, we're judging ourselves, right? U-turn on that, Byron Katie's work.
Yeah.
And we are dehumanizing. When we judge someone's body, we're looking at just this physical form, and we're not we're dehumanizing them, we're peripheralizing them, we're otherizing them. It's our internalized biases. And so those are going to come up. And I can recognize, like, if I'm having a day like that, like maybe I was okay, my jeans didn't fit, or so, and then it's kind of a little bit in my head, but I've done so much of this work that I can recognize it and be like, I don't accept that, because that's not me. Those thoughts are not me. And it doesn't feel good to show up in that way. And so I think it is really profound, and I love their work. So I hope people listening will check out the Body Positive Institute.
Yeah, the Body Positive Institute. And then for anyone that's not familiar with Byron Katie's work, she has, just look up her 4 questions. Yeah. And so when I did Byron Katie's The Work, it's called, in the beginning, it was such an emotional experience that I had to do it all in my head first, because it can bring you into a deep dive. So if you have trauma, it's like, always make sure that you are in an environment of support. Like, you can do it superficially and you can ask yourself the questions, but if you really need to heal, like, that to me brought up a lot. And often, like, when I think about my relationship, I dissociated from my body for a long time. That was how I was able to abuse it and just take out all my emotions on it. And so this year has been a journey of healing and self-compassion. For people that don't know, I'm in Martha Beck's Wayfinder Life Coach training.
Awesome.
And it has been such a great healing journey, and I love to share it with others. And can we say hi to your cat? What's your cat's name again?
Charlie. Yeah,
Charlie.
She's so cute.
Charlie,
she's so spoiled. Yeah.
Welcome. We love to invite all animals onto the channel. But yeah, and it causes you a lot. It caused me a lot to just sit back and to ponder. And then, like, when I notice that if I'm having a really stressful day, like, it can be in the morning, you wake up feeling one way, and then by night you feel another. So if I wake up feeling good, I'm not considering my body at all. But if I end the day feeling horrible, then I'm like noticing self-judgments and like realizing those connections. And then also Dr. Kristen Neff's book, Here's Self-Compassion. And I had the opportunity. Life-changing, mind-blowing. And it's like self-compassion has been, even before I read her book, I'm like, that's the missing piece, especially for diet culture is able to hone in on our vulnerabilities and our insecurities. And if we develop self-compassion, to me, what it highlighted was like, oh, that's really abusive, actually. And it's really oppressive. And then when I leaned into self-compassion and started to reject diet culture oppression, I noticed that I started to show up differently at work. And you start to advocate for yourself in other aspects. So that's what helped stimulate. We talked earlier before we started recording, like, yes, I'm an eating disorder advocate. It doesn't mean I'm completely recovered, and I have my vulnerabilities. And it has helped me to create boundaries in the workplace, because you realize, like, I have spent so long trying to heal. I tolerate less the things that are going to get me to go back to that dark place I've been. Can you tell us more about your website, your YouTube channel, and what all this community is about?
Yay. Thank you for, for sharing all that. And then also the opportunity for sharing IME Community. By the way, the plug for Dr. Kristen Neff's work, awesome. So I hope people will check it out, and they can take a self-compassion, not like a quiz or a survey, but kind of you can test your level of self-compassion. I did this with my teen IME community members, and we were all kind of agreeing on everything, and you can see what areas that you're kind of like weaker on. Are you high on self-kindness, on mindfulness, or your beliefs in a common humanity? And so I think it's just the most powerful work. And the other thing that I would encourage everybody to understand, I worked on this a lot with my coach when I was doing this work and having a hard time, is that there is no summit. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm working so hard on this, and it still just feels so draining, or, feeling like that perfectionistic rule out this grinding goal of self-compassion. And when is it going to get easier? Well, stop striving. It's not about that. Like, there's no summit. There's only showing up with daily intentional, like, habit practice for yourself to figure it out. And people, you're worth that work. That is the hardest work of your life, but it is, it is the most important work you're going to do, and it trickles down and spills over to everybody you're in connection with in your life. And it's helped me so much as a mom. So that's what I do with the IME community. I have been addressing childhood obesity for almost 20 years of my career, and I've done basically everything you could do, and followed the expert committee recommendations that the American Academy of Pediatrics and other organizations came out with for how like a community pediatrician should prevent, assess, and treat childhood obesity. And I really operationalized each one of those recommendations. Had a nonprofit called Teach a Kid to Fish, which is the love of my career, and started that from scratch. I left my pediatric practice to start that, build a whole, community collaboration. And anyway, it was amazing. And then it took me 3 years to launch an actual pediatric weight management program, to, pull all the partners together, get all the grants funded, and started that. And I was the medical director for that clinic here in Lincoln. And then I moved my nonprofit to launch a population health center at Children's, and went through my own weight loss and life coaching journey. Started in September 2017, and discovered coaching, and discovered, wow, we've been doing all this wrong, and diet culture is so harmful, and had to really recognize that a lot of what, the fixation on BMI and weight, it's harmful. So decided to become a coach myself, decided to take my obesity medicine boards, and I launched IME Community, creating community through compassionate connection is my vision in everything I do. And decided to work with a branding agency, and IME, if you say it, it's I am me. And I just envisioned, like a teen looking in the mirror with full self-acceptance right now. And is that self-love superpower. And so I coach. My website is imecommunity.com. And I've learned a lot through the last year or so of launching it. And I'm on so many social, follow me, especially on TikTok, because I do a lot, just because we are very embedded and internalized in diet culture. Because right now parents are really stuck in, am I going to cause a lot of harm? Or maybe I've showed up as my past parent self in a way that I'm not proud of, that may have caused harm. Parents who'll say, I'm, so worried because I had an eating disorder and I don't want her to have one. And if I bring it up, then she's going to have it. But if I don't say anything, I'm not helping her, And so it's a tough thing, and nobody's really addressing it in a way that's helpful. So that's what I'm going to do. And so I'm going to be doing, it's called Cut the Cringe. And I'm going to be doing a workshop on a healthy conversation script with your teen about health and weight.
So I'll definitely be sharing all of your links below. I'm sure this is the start of just the beginning for our conversations together. And I know we'll send them back since we have your YouTube video with us together. But thank you so much, Dr. Karla Lester.
Thank you, Dr. Jillian.
Dr. Karla, and I love it. And I love that you're on TikTok. And every time I hear the word TikTok, I think of you. So I'm like, oh gosh,
my kids don't like it, but I don't care.